Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. We're coming to you this Tuesday on the 20th day of October, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matters. Get to the stories that matter today. In response to criticism of slow anti-corruption action, Malacanang urged business and labor groups to be patient. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro assured that the flood control probe is being expedited, but vowed that the administration will not bypass legal processes or violate human rights. The Office of the Ombudsman said contractor couple Sara and Curly Discaya are no longer considered state witnesses in the flood control scandal, citing their lack of cooperation. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano added that the couple cannot be treated as state witnesses due to their involvement in more than 4,000 bidding activities nationwide. And only 9.4% of nearly 10,000 DPWH projects showed no signs of anomaly. That's according to a UP study on flood control projects. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda. Business and labor leaders are urging Malacanang to grant contempt powers to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or the ICI. But the palace insists actions have already been taken. Here is a report.
During his State of the Nation address last July, President Bongbong Marcos himself exposed alleged anomalies in flood control projects. But months later, the investigation appears to be moving at a snail's pace. In an open letter addressed to President Marcos, business and labor leaders criticized authorities for being content with merely issuing lookout bulletins instead of whole departure orders against those possibly involved. They also questioned why the probe was held behind closed doors instead of transparent hearings. The groups urged the president to certify as urgent the granting of contempt powers to the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, but Malacanang insists a lot has already happened since July.
Nandiyan na po yung mga freezing of assets na in-order ng AMLA. Nandiyan na rin po ang mga pagsasampa ng kaso.
However, she clarified that whole departure orders cannot be issued arbitrarily.
Nandiyan na rin po ang sinasabi nating immigration lookout bulletin orders na ibinigay. Bakit wala pang whole departure order? Unang-una po, ang whole departure order, ang mag-i-issue po niyan ay korte. So dapat malaman po nila na lahat po ng ginagawa ngayon ng administrasyon at ng mga law enforcement agencies ay naaayon sa batas. Hindi po natin basta-basta maaaring tawagin o sabihin na isang tao ay hindi ka pwedeng magbiyahe. Yan po naman ay lalabag sa batas. Dahil lahat naman din po tayo ay may freedom of movement.
The palace also emphasized that even the NBI, which has no contempt powers, is still able to perform its investigative duties effectively.
Unang-una po, ang NBI po ay isang investigative body, pero wala silang contempt powers. Pero bakit sila nakakapag-imbestiga at nakakapag-file ng kaso, nakakapag-endorse sa prosecutor's office para magtuloy-tuloy ang pagsasampa nito sa korte? Meron o wala man contempt powers ang ICI, makikita po natin na sila naman po ay pinupuntahan ng mga pinapatawag nila. Ang pag-iimbestiga po, di naman po siguro kinakailangan sa aking pananaw na magkaroon ng contempt powers dahil marami po ang maaari magpasubpina.
She added that if a person summoned by the ICI refuses to appear, that's no longer the Commission's fault, and those individuals can still be charged even if their side hasn't been heard.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, plans to finalize its live streaming guidelines for its proceedings next month. ICI Executive Director Attorney Brian Hosaka said the rules are expected to be completed before the next hearing on November 11. Hosaka explained that the Commission is taking a deliberate approach in crafting the guidelines, studying relevant laws and Supreme Court decisions to strike a balance between transparency and the protection of individual rights. However, Trade Union Congress of the Philippines spokesperson Carlos Miguel Oñate said the live stream of the proceedings on the flood control scandal is not enough. He urged the ICI to release all submissions, including position papers and affidavits, to the public.
We urge the President to direct the ICI to live stream the hearings, and all the submissions should be for public disclosure. Because hindi natin maiwasan yung ating mga manggagawa, lalo na magsuspetsa kung ano ba talaga nangyayari dyan dahil sarado yung investigasyon. If the House and the Senate can live stream their hearings to the public, then there is no reason why the ICI cannot do it immediately, especially since it is a fact-finding body.
Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson made it clear he will only accept the role of Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman if he is elected by his fellow senators. Lacson said the position should go through the proper process, adding that he won't return as chair unless the Senate votes him in.
Hindi natin alam kung ano mangyayari kasi kung halimbawa may mag-nominate, tapos may mag-object, dinasabotohan at hindi naman umubra. So, hindi ako babalik as chairman. Selected, then I will accept.
Meanwhile, Lacson revealed that a very important witness is expected to testify in the next Blue Ribbon hearing. He said the witness could implicate more big names in the ongoing investigation into alleged anomalies in flood control projects.
Medyo malawak-lawak. Mga hindi lumalabas sa mga naunang hearings. May lalabas na mga bagong pangalan at saka medyo malaking pangalan. We only have to wait until November 14 parinig natin yan. Kung sakaling haharap siya doon. Pero all indications, ang all indications naman it's a go .
The Office of the Ombudsman said contractor couple Sara and Curly Discayas can no longer be considered state witnesses in the flood control scandal due to their lack of cooperation in the ongoing investigation. More in this report.
It is now deemed impossible for Sara and Curly Discayas to become state witnesses in the flood control scandal, according to the Office of the Ombudsman. This follows the couple's decision not to cooperate with the ongoing investigation of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure or ICI. Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano added that they cannot be treated as state witnesses, citing their involvement in more than 4,000 bidding activities nationwide.
Lahat po talaga ng kabalastugan ng DPWH pinasukan na talaga ng Discayas . So I don't think they're in any position to bargain with the government, especially with their status as state witness. It's beyond that already dahil sa nakita ho nating ebidensya.
As a result, the Discayas will also be stripped of government protection. Curly and Sara were considered protected witnesses, which provided them with security and assigned personnel to safeguard them while the case was ongoing. Their affidavits submitted during the Senate hearings last month were also described as too shallow. While they did submit a list of individuals allegedly involved into anomalous projects, they reportedly failed to attach supporting evidence to substantiate their claims. The Ombudsman said it will proceed with filing charges against the Discayas, including malversation of public funds, falsification of public documents, and other related crimes. They are expected to be subpoenaed to appear in the preliminary investigation.
Tignan na lang ho natin kung hindi pa rin sila mag-cooperate, kung gumulong na po yung ating proseso dito sa Office ng Ombudsman.
Coming right up, massive irregularities in flood control projects were uncovered by a study from the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance. Let's discuss that matter with UP NCPAG Dean Dr. Christopher Bursey when Morning Matters returns. Keep it here. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. A study by the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance has uncovered massive irregularities in flood control projects. The report, titled Ghost Hunting, used artificial intelligence and geospatial analysis to scan nearly 10,000 DPWH projects, revealing that only 9.4% showed no signs of anomaly. The rest were flagged as possibly ghost, chop, or doppelganger projects, some even built in areas with low flood risk. The study highlights weaknesses in procurement, oversight, and public accountability, and calls for an AI-enabled audit, open data systems, and greater civic participation to prevent future corruption. And joining us today, we have Dr. Christopher Burse, Dean of the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance. Good morning and welcome to the program. Dr. Christopher Burse, sorry.
Good morning, Gretchen.
Magandang umaga sa'yo. Okay, unang-una, no, tell us all about this, how this study was conducted. Did you do this via satellite images purely, and how did you get to the findings?
Well, this one doesn't really involve satellite imaging because for one, we know that many of the projects are cannot be seen from above. But what we did was we of course started with the some of the initial findings from the ongoing investigations. Like for example, Senator Lacson said na maybe there are projects even from the beginning, and the other investigations, Sec Vins, they were saying that there are ghost projects. There are projects with similar costs, projects that are located in some areas that may have no flood problems, and so we built on that, and then we tried to look at our regulations when it comes to procurement, when it comes to bidding, the implementation of projects, for instance, how long should it be, the whole process of implementing or managing an infrastructure project. And then we feed all of these guidelines, the legal regulations, and also the initial findings of the investigations, feed it into a system to tell us, to guide us, which among the projects would meet certain conditions. And so based on that, that's how we were able to get the results. Identifying which projects are potentially ghost or potentially a what we call as doppelganger or chop projects, and so on.
Okay, so but how were you able to get to the conclusion na potentially ghost siya without going to the site?
Well, for one, we look at the contracts. We look at the implementation period, for instance, because it's kind of difficult to determine if it's ghost or not if without going to the site. That's why in our report we're saying potentially ghost. Potentially ghost because it's subject to validation on site. We look at primarily at the dates of the start date and the implementation date. For instance, if it's just very short, let's say less than 30 days, I mean there are projects reported to be finished in less than 30 days. So that's already kind of anomalous, and most likely, especially if it's handled by contractors with multiple projects, then most likely that's questionable. Or if the project is completed less than 75% of its total contract days, then we and it's handled again by suspicious contractors, then we thought we tagged it as something as potentially anomalous or ghost, most likely.
So kung wari, parang this is a good starting point for those who want to explore ghost projects. But you are reporting that only about 9.4% of projects had no red flags. So that's still about 91?
Yes.
91.6 or 90.6% of projects to explore here. So gaano kadami yun?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have to remember that when we say, remember, we found out five red flags, no, and the ghost projects is just one of them, no. The other is the chop, what we call as chop, no. These are projects that are divided into certain phases, multiple packages. while they're not technically wrong, I mean, they're not technically illegal, it still should raise some red flags on why they were chopped into certain phases, right? So we have chop projects, we have doppelganger projects. Basically, these are the projects that share the same contract cost, even if they're located in different sites and different and then we have also what we call a sham projects. There are projects that have taken forever to complete, more than 3 years at least. And then we have also projects that are what we call as kamote projects, kasi mapapakamot ka na lang sa ulo, because we look at NOAA data also and see the location of the projects. If the projects are located in areas that are prone to hazards or not, and we found out that there are some projects that are located in areas that are not prone to hazards. But then again, these are potential irregularities, so they have to be validated inside. That's what basically we're saying.
Yun yung iba-ibang terms nyo, no? Pero yung 9.4%, that goes with a total of what? What's the total of flood control projects?
That's 90, let me just check to be sure. That's about, because the total of that's about more than 9,000 actually.
9,000?
About 8,000 plus.
8,000 plus?
Yes. Out of the 9,826.
Oo. So, 700, mga 700 plus lamang, 750 plus lamang yung yung no red flags. Ang dami pa rin.
No, around 923.
923. So, more than 8,000 projects. Oo.
Walang red
Okay.
flags.
So where should people begin? Where should government begin in investigating this? Meron ba kayo yung parang grade dyan na sobrang daming red flags? And you have a chart na parang marami pa yung may kulay red, mas dark red. Help us understand that.
Yes, I think you're referring maybe to the scatter plot, no? The whole, well, we tried to look at which district offices really have we're trying to see which district offices have lesser red flags, no? And or conversely, which ones have really heavy red flag. And we found out that many of those DEOs with relatively lower red flags are the DEOs with lesser number of projects, no? So, karamihan ng mga halimbawa malalaking DEOs natin, let's say yung Metro Manila District offices, or yung sa Bulacan, syempre, no? They handle more than 100 projects over the course of the year, from 2018 to 2025. And mostly, many of their projects were tagged as red flags, no? We found out even 30 DEOs, district engineering offices, with no red flags, with no green flags at all, meaning all of the projects were potentially questionable. So we have those cases, yeah.
And what were your other findings apart from that? The smaller ones had more green flag projects, the bigger ones had more red flag projects. What were your other findings apart from that?
Well, we found out that I think one of the more important ones really is yung there are projects in areas that do not have high flood hazards, no? Meaning they're not that prone to floods, no? I think because for us, it's important that when we start planning, no, as a way of prevention na rin, is that when we start planning especially for flood control projects, they have to be based on a scientific assessment of the hazard. And if we do scientific assessment, we should know that if a certain area doesn't have high flood susceptibility, then maybe there should be we should have a better use of our resources. So I think that's one important also finding, to be more science-based in our approach when it comes to identifying flood control projects. Not just
Katulad po saan? Katulad po saan? Ano po yung mga
Well,
area po na yun?
we found, for instance, we have, based on the data, we found out that maybe there are around 90 plus projects in Metro Manila that may not be that may be located in areas that are not that do not have high hazard susceptibility. At least that's what's based on the NOAA maps, where we use the Project NOAA maps. But then again, this is something that needs to be validated. The people, because even if, let's say, for instance, from uh, let's say from the based on the NOAA maps, maybe the area may not be tagged as having high flood hazards, but in reality, because of over the years, let's say due to clogged drainage or other problems, the community might be facing, after all, serious flooding, over the years. So that's why we're saying is that there still needs to be validated. But what we're trying to say is that we hope the study will help point out possible areas, or maybe help in the planning of where we should look into. For instance, there's of course heavy red flags in certain Central Luzon, in Northern Luzon also, and as well as in parts of Mindanao. So maybe that can help in terms of, at least in terms of planning or looking into or prioritizing which areas to investigate. Yeah.
Kung kinakailangan nga ba itong mga mga
Yes,
flood
yes.
control contracts na ito. What other data sets did you use apart from the NOAA hazard maps?
Well, we use the data from the Sumbong sa Pangulo website. We also look at the data of yung website from the contractors. There's a website there that lists down the different contractors. We look at the DPWH data also provided, and yeah, basically, and then the news reports, because we wanted to use, we referred to the news reports also to validate, whether the AI did the right tagging, more or less.
Oo, sabi kasi sa amin ng Budget Watch Coalition or Public Watch Coalition na they're seeing the website is only tracking about 50% of the total budget that was allotted for flood control between the years of 2018 to 2025. So kulang pa yung datos,
Yes.
na nakalagay dun sa Sumbong sa Pangulo. Tama ba? Are you also seeing the
Yes,
same thing?
even the 2025 data is partial. It's not for the whole year. No, they have only, I think, the first quarter lang nandun.
Pero
So-
yung data po ninyo, mostly po yan galing dun sa Sumbong sa Pangulo website.
Yes, the 9,800. We use it because that's the official, publicly available data. Yeah.
Okay, how did you use AI in analyzing this? I mean, did you create your own platform for that?
Well, we created our own. We have a programmer who is familiar with AI design, and then we fed it with information, including the information about the projects, all the data sets, and then we fed also we also indicated the parameters in terms of what to look for. Let's say, for example, when it comes to ghost projects, we told the machine to look for, or the system to look for, projects that are of short duration, especially projects that are being handled by contractors with heavy load, and so on. No, basically it's really that we did that, and then to visualize it, we combine it with GIS tools to see, to give us a better picture of where things are.
Oo. Ay, yung Google Maps, hindi nyo po nagamit dito? Kasi hindi ba parang in real time din yung kanilang data?
We
Or-
tried looking at, as a sort of verification, we tried using Google Earth, for instance, just to check if this site is indeed existing or not. For instance, we found out there's some never-ending or sham projects in Occidental Mindoro. There's, I think there are 4 that has taken like more than 3 years or so, 3 or 4 projects. So we tried to check at least via Google Earth, if there's a structure there, just to see if it's complete or not. And we couldn't find uh, the the said structure, So we tried to use it as a kind of to validate. But then again, like I said, the Google Earth or the remote validation using Google Maps or Google Earth is kind of limited because some of the projects that are related to flood control are really invisible because they're buried underground. Like, say, for example, the drainage system and so on.
Ah, you're right. You're right. So hindi
Yeah.
naman po lahat
Yeah.
makikita talaga.
Or sometimes
Kaya,
maybe they can be covered by tree covers, so hindi rin siya na-detect. Yeah.
okay. Now, this has been done for flood control. Are you also planning to do this for other infrastructure projects?
Well, siguro not yet, no. But part of our plan really is to continue with developing using AI, no, to detect not just infrastructure anomalies, but to help also improve our governance systems. And yeah, definitely we'll keep on working on different aspects, not just the DPWH issue, but on any other aspects of governance.
Oo. And then, another thing, no? Dun po sa mga datos na inilagay po ninyo, did you have eyesight over contracts and progress reports?
We're limited by what's made available online. In fact, we also observed that some of the reports were maybe typographical errors in the entry of data, because we observed, for instance, that the let's say, for example, the start date and the end date of a project. The start date would be the end date would happen earlier than the start date. So that you have those kind of problems in the data. So the model is actually as good only as the data provides. So maybe if there's better data, we can make a better, more nuanced kind of analysis. But yeah, we're limited by what's available online.
Okay, are you passing this data on to the DPWH? Have you contacted the secretary to be able to give
Yes.
them your findings?
Yes, we have contacted. We have sent officially to the office of the secretary our findings. Actually, we sent. They were the first one to receive the report.
Ano po ang kanilang response tugon po sa inyo?
Well, we just sent yesterday, so I think Sec
Nire-review
Vince has
pa.
been receptive. Our previous study, he looked into it, so we hope that and we're positive, we're optimistic that he would look also into it with open eyes.
I guess the final question I have for you is, what reforms do you think that we can do based on the data that you've already collected? What reforms would you like to see?
Well, for one, maybe in the ongoing investigation, at least be more strategic about the investigation, maybe. No? In terms of reform, of course, we're really pushing for the use of a more or less an automated system, no, AI enabled. In terms of monitoring, not just the implementation of an ongoing project or the completion of a project, but even from the budget preparation, so that moving forward, at the budget stage pa lang, we can already detect if there's some anomalous or potentially anomalous entries. No? So we hope we can have that. I think there's some movements even from different parts of the government, from the legislative side and the executive side, to look into how we can use technology to improve our system. So we hope this could contribute to that. And I think the other thing, of course, is people's participation, because the machine can only see what it is given. The system can only see, the AI system the model can only see what it is fed with. But ultimately, its findings have to be validated by people. Yeah, it has to be validated on site, and for that, we need the cooperation. I think also of the people, their participation in terms of on-site validation, because the DPWH certainly could not do all of these things at once. But once maybe our people, let's say different groups, citizens, church groups, or any kind of youth groups who would want to help, maybe help
Correct.
validate this.
And where do they submit their observations if they want to contribute to this?
Maybe we're trying to form also a network, and there are many organizations actually that have been formed nowadays that are doing independently or together doing citizens participatory audit.
Correct.
Yeah.
Si
and that
Better
is also-
Gov PH, meron na siyang
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, I think doon they can feed into that, no. We're still trying to see if we would be needed in that regard, no. We'll try to do our share in terms of monitoring if we're needed, but otherwise there are many groups already doing the on-site validation, and we just hope that maybe they could refer to the results and to help them, plan their strategy in terms of checking and ultimately validating also the results.
And these are significant findings. But they're very specific. If you go to the Facebook page of UPNC PAG, you'll be able to see that for one, as much as 30% are potentially ghost projects. That's 2,934 out of 9,826. 64% are suspiciously divided into multiple packages or flood control projects detected as fragmented or duplicated. That's 6,000 out of 9,000. At meron ka pa kayong na-identify na mga lugar, katulad na lamang sa La Union, sa Quezon City with multiple insertions. And more than half of projects, or 55%, have suspiciously similar contract cost, 5,000 out of 9,000. Ang mas mahirap po yata dito ay saan magsisimula, dahil napakalawak po nang nangyayari, lalong-lalo na pagdating dito sa flood control, and we hope to have more citizens participation here, and this is a whole of nation effort cracking down on corruption. In the meantime, maraming salamat po, we hope those who would like to contribute to the conversation could message the UPNC PAG, and great work on your end. We hope to see more from your group. Sana ipagpatuloy niya pa po ito at talagang ma-incorporate na sa ating governance. We have Dr. Christopher Berse, Dean of the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance, and joining us and telling us all about ghost hunting.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, everyone.
Up next, Jack Valero, a Catholic communication leader, has called on Filipinos to address corruption and its growing impact on the poor. All that and more when Morning Matters returns after a quick break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here in One News. Catholic communication leader Jack Valero has urged Filipinos to confront corruption and its widening impact on poverty. Valero, who leads the UK-based group Catholic Voices, said corruption undermines efforts to uplift the poor and should be seen not only as a political problem but as a deep moral failure. He noted that continuing controversies over alleged misuse of public funds should encourage open discussions about social justice, especially as the most vulnerable sectors often bear the brunt of such abuses. Valero also pointed to Pope Leo XIV's recent exhortation, Dilexite, which highlights the dangers of growing inequality and the isolation of the wealthy elite. The Pope's message, he said, serves as a reminder that true development must begin with compassion and integrity. He called on Filipinos to uphold honesty and transparency, saying truth-telling is vital in restoring trust and ensuring that governance serves the poor above all. And joining us now here in the studio, we have Jack Valero, founder of Catholic Voices. Good morning. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Thanks for inviting me.
Hey, Jack, first tell us all about your group, Catholic Voices.
Yes, it was formed in 2010, 15 years ago, in the UK because Pope Benedict was coming. And some people didn't want him to come. So some controversy arose. And we felt that the media would be interested in this controversy. but not many people were ready or prepared to speak in media. So we put out a call. Any Catholic who would like to be trained, we will train them, put them in media, and to explain what the Pope is coming here to do and why it's a good idea. So while the Pope was there for 4 days, we were in 100 news programs explaining all the things that he was saying, and the visit was really positive, and you know, the whole thing turned around.
What was the controversy?
The controversy is people thought he was not in line with British values, whatever that is, and that he was too old-fashioned and he didn't understand population problems and contraception and abortion and so on. He wasn't in line with what the British people think. Whereas in fact, he came to tell us that there are problems that we must solve together. You know, he kept saying religion is not a problem to be solved, but a vital contribution to the discussion in society, to the national conversation. So he came, and we were able to be in the news with our people, and then this was copied around the world. So I traveled to many countries, training groups, who would explain things of the faith, things of the Catholic Church, in a way that could get through. So we have this book called How to Defend the Faith Without Raising Your Voice, which is about explaining the different things by connecting to what the other people want. So there's always common ground, and we find that if you find the common ground and communicate from there, then the messages can get through much more easily. So we talk about the same thing. We want to listen to each other. Instead of talking at each other, we talk to each other about what we agree and how we solve the things together, even though we disagree on other things. And this allows us to build a better world. And
talking about the difficult things, huh? I mean, they say that when you're at the dining table, you shouldn't talk about two things, about religion and about politics, but that's what you're specializing in.
Exactly, religion and politics.
Well, before we go to the specifics of that, I'd like to ask about the Pope's recent exhortation. His first one, Dilexi Te, takes from Pope Francis Dilexi Nos. Dilexi Te meaning
I love you,
I love you, I have loved you.
I have loved you, yeah.
And Dilexi Nos meaning he loved us.
He loved us, yeah.
So what's the difference of both?
Well, Dilexit Nos, it was like a collection, you know, that Pope Francis was writing. So Dilexit Nos was about the devotion to the Sacred Heart, and how in our religion we must have heart and we must have love, and love is at the heart of what we believe. And without understanding that God loves us unconditionally, the commandments don't make any sense, you know. It's not really, people think religion is a set of rules, but it isn't. It's about God loving us unconditionally, and then we understand all the commandments. But Dilexit Te, which also Francis was writing, and it's beautiful that the new Pope has taken what Francis has written, made it his own, and published it, because it's about love for the poor, you know, and the Church has this preferential option for the poor. When we read in the Gospel, Christ was there, and then the blind saw, and the deaf heard, and the poor had the good news preached to them. You know, Christ has had this preferential option to preach to the poor. And the Church wants to protect the poor. It's on the side of the poor. And, you know, as you were saying, Dilexit Te denounces the growing inequality. You know, the richer get richer, the poorer get poorer.
Was that not present in Pope Francis's exhortation?
Yes, it was. But it's like we need to hear it again and again to see he's very worried now that this is now getting worse, you know. Like, look at the Philippines. There have been problems, typhoons, projects that have not been completed, etc. And who suffers? Is the poor. The rich don't suffer. You know, things happen around them. But it's the poor who suffer. The Church is very concerned for the poor and wants to preach the good news to them, help them, promote them so they can have better lives. And this has been the mission of the Church throughout its history.
Why do you think this was the first exhortation of Pope Leo XIV?
I think that what he did is, well, let's see. Pope Francis, when he started, took an unfinished work from Pope Benedict called Lumen Fidei, on faith, and published it, saying, look, there is continuity. So Pope Leo has done the same with Pope Francis. Look, there's this document that's almost finished, and I want to promulgate it, because there's continuity between what Benedict did, what Francis did, what I'm going to do. You know, there's continuity. responding to all the we know that Pope Leo is very interested in AI and all the consequences of that, and for people, especially poor people. But he's in continuity with Pope Francis. Now, Pope Francis kept telling us that the key thing is what I said before. The key thing was that God loves us unconditionally. And so you could see Pope Francis welcoming people, the homeless. His big desire was to have lunch on his birthday
He was
with the homeless.
Revolutionary in many ways, right?
Yeah, because
moving away from
rules into people, looking after people.
Where does Pope Leo lie for you in the spectrum of conservative and liberal?
Well, I don't think these labels are so helpful. I think I think he's both. What does if progressive means that you care for people, then they're all progressive. If conservative means they are going to not change the key doctrines of the church, then they're all going to not change the key doctrines of the church.
So it doesn't help to have labels.
No, these kind of labels, Pope Leo is more reserved than Pope Francis. Pope Francis was very extroverted and
Correct.
Shoot from the hip and say the things that he wanted, and that caused controversies, and that was good because it got people talking. Pope Leo is more reserved, and he will keep doing things. But he's going, for example, to Turkey in a month's time to celebrate that 1700 years ago we had the first council of the Catholic of the Church. Before we were divided in any way, before the Orthodox, before the Protestants, before any division, we met together to discuss who is Christ in the year 325 in a place called Nicaea, which is now in Turkey. And the Pope is going to go there with religious leaders of all Christian denominations to celebrate. We were once united. Can't we look back and get that back? It would be such a great witness to the world, that. So in that sense, he's thinking, well, I'm going to do that, unity. He just saw the King of England. He received the King Charles in the Vatican on last weekend, and they had this service of praying together. We'd never had the Pope and the King, the monarch of England, praying together, and they did that in the Sistine Chapel, which is a beautiful setting, beautiful, where the Pope had become Pope, in that same place.
I was thinking that maybe his exhortation was him taking a stance on what's happening in Gaza, for one. No.
I think that's part of it,
general.
but I think he wants peace. He doesn't want to judge one side or the other. But as a religious leader, he says war doesn't make any sense, and the Middle East is a mess, and we must stop this war, and we must have peace. Israel, Gaza, Palestinians, similarly in Ukraine, Russia. We must have peace. War is a failure, and I think Pope Francis also was very, very much against war. All the popes have been against war very much, and speaking about it. And again, war. Who does war affect most? It'll be the poor. The poor. And so he's making a statement. Look, the church is saying this, that, and the other, but ultimately is saying we love the poor, and we're there for them.
And contributing to that deep division is the information warfare that we're facing now, specifically with the online world.
Yeah.
We have
false
a
narratives,
battle of
fake news,
narratives,
etc.
fake news.
Yeah.
How do you begin to communicate if your truths are different?
Yeah.
If we live in a polarized world, how do you communicate effectively if the set of facts that you're coming from is different from the person you're talking to?
Yeah.
Across you.
Exactly. And the Pope still has to release his own document saying what's my program, which is called his first encyclical, which we're expecting anytime soon. But one of the things he said he was very interested in is AI, technology, news, etc. All that thing that you said, because it's true that now that the traditional media is more fragmented and news comes from all sorts of places, and it's much harder to do news checking, and whereas the traditional media would typically check news, news stories in different places before going for it. Now that doesn't happen. So that's a problem. So I think Catholics should take very seriously the idea that they're not going to believe things unless they check them, and they're not going to propagate
And so how do
fake
you deal
news.
with that?
Yeah.
Because you were talking a while ago about being able to communicate effectively by listening and not talking at people, not preaching at them,
No, exactly.
talking to them. How do you
Talking
do
with
that?
them, yeah.
How do you do that in the midst of that reality?
Okay. Well, nothing is perfect, so we have to take account of all this misinformation. But I do, I try to read the newspapers, the elite newspapers that check the news properly. When I hear a piece of news, I say, well, is this in the other media? And if it's not in the other media, then I suspect it's not true. So I leave it for a while until it's checked. But it's true. We have this problem. This is a new problem that is going to become worse. And I think we should be aware of it, and we should try to fight it. And the communication we promote is by not seeing communication as a battle between I'm progressive, you're conservative, let's have a battle. No. I'm a Catholic, you're a Catholic. We actually agree on many things. Or I'm a Catholic, you're an atheist. We agree on many, many things. Let's start talking from there and building our world together on all the things we agree, which are most things.
I know, I like what you said about finding common ground.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Exactly.
here in the Philippines, we're divided amongst political colors. Like there's pinks, yellows, there's green and red, and all of that. More personality politics than ideology.
Yes. Well,
But there's one thing we do unite on, and that's the fight against corruption. If
Exactly.
you take a look at flood control,
Exactly.
people from different colors coming out to talk about this and to talk against rampant corruption. How can Catholics communicate effectively on such a topic?
Yes, and I think that the fact that it has become a big controversy now means it's in everybody's lips. And this is our great opportunity, because we need to have a change of character. We need to promote integrity of character, truthfulness, and honesty. And therefore, these are virtues that we want the next generation to have in full. And as far as possible, this generation also. But the fact that it's being talked about is a great thing, because and also because we agree on almost everything. We agree on the evils of the things that are going on or have gone on, and what we don't know is the best way to get out of it, or we don't agree fully on what the best way to get out of it, on what we should do, what steps we should take. That's what we should be talking about. But the opportunity exists because we're talking about it, and talking about it is really good.
Yes, but how do we communicate effectively? I believe you have a formula on that, speaking with both clarity and charity.
Exactly. So we need to be. I think people, when they communicate, should have the integrity to say what they think, and at the same time to have a great love for the other person. Okay, and the way to achieve this combination, which is quite difficult, because I can say, look, let me tell you the truth, and then when I hear this, I think he's going to insult me now. He's going to tell me the truth, but or he's going to love me so much he's not going to tell me anything in case I get upset. But I want the two together, so I am able to communicate with integrity what I think, and at the same time not stop loving people. And how do I do that? By finding that common ground. When I find common ground, I'm able to love the person and say what I think in full, and the other person can do the same.
Well, some people
and we can have this conversation.
Some people would say that if you're calling out the corrupt, then you should be somehow ruthless against it to be able to call it out. And
of
many
course.
have done that online,
Yeah.
speaking to the general public without a specific person in front of them.
Yeah.
How could they do that more effectively?
No, I agree. No, I think they're the experts. You have to know the topic, and you have to understand what people are thinking. But we're all thinking the same. So this is what this is why it's good to talk about it now, because we're all thinking the same. And let's get together around the table and find the solutions to this problem that we all agree exists. Not only for now, but I think more importantly, that the next generation of Filipinos don't have this problem, because we give them good upbringing on this.
Do you agree with the shame campaign that's been happening on the corrupt?
I don't actually know the details of this campaign here, because I've only been here this last week. But you know, I think you have to call things out if you want to stamp corruption out. I mean, in other countries,
make corruption unacceptable.
Unacceptable. In other countries, they have lots of checks and balances in the system, so it's much harder. You know, there will always be a temptation to be corrupt. So it's good to have checks and balances, so that becomes really difficult to do. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, look, if you have done this, you should repent, and if not, then you should be called out.
Should priests talk about this in their
in my opinion,
masses?
Catholics should, priests should talk about honesty and integrity, because it's part of what being a Catholic is, and about love for the poor, and about the damage that people are causing. But to actually call things out specifically is the task of ordinary Catholics. So we don't do that because the priest told us, but because we believe in God, and God wants us to do it. That's why we do it. And we're ordinary people making our countries better.
So if for those who want to get some training on communication, where can they find you?
Well, they find Catholic Voices, and we're thinking about Catholic Voices in the Philippines. We don't have it yet, but it could be a possibility, and then we can train people. I've just given a course in Manila this last few days, and people were really happy. So I think we could offer that here more.
It's something that could probably help people when it comes to their own families, right?
Also, families, you can use it in the family, you can use it at work. Really, it's building a better society.
Your final advice for everybody who just wants to communicate a little better?
Well, try to always aim for real clarity with charity by finding the common ground and listening to the other person, really listening, and then giving your message with love.
With gentleness and love.
And gentleness and love, but clearly.
Thank you for the reminder and for telling us, teaching us how to talk about the hard things. We have Jack Valero, founder of Catholic Voices. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Don't go away. More matters to discuss after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're so watching Morning Matters here on One News. Chinese fishing boats were driven away from Ayungin Shoal for alleged illegal fishing and possible use of cyanide. Filipino troops aboard the BRP Sierra Madre intercepted the vessels last week, confiscating equipment, including bottles suspected of containing the banned substance. A Chinese Coast Guard ship was seen nearby but did not intervene. The troops successfully pushed the boats out of the disputed waters.
Yung mga rare species, makakatulog sila, make them unconscious. Huhuli ng buhay at iuwi ito at ibenta. Mahal ito. Ito mga rare species ng mga isda. Not only for the fishes, but pati yung environment. Mga corals, nasisira yan. That's why it's a banned form of fishing. We were enforcing our sovereign rights within Ayungin Shoal. Every now and then, may nakikita naman sila doon ng mga fishermen, Chinese fishermen, na tinataboy nila palabas ng shoal.
Pag-asa has officially declared the onset of the amihan season or northeast monsoon. The agency expects cooler, drier air and occasional cold surges nationwide. It warned, though, that successive surges of the amihan may bring rough seas along the coast of northern Luzon. Meanwhile, a low-pressure area is being monitored near Pag-asa Island. It is bringing rains over Palawan. Other weather systems, including the ITCZ, shear line, and easterlies, may cause rains in other parts of the country. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.